This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario. Hi everyone, it is Rebecca and Tara, and our episode today is our 100th co-hosting episode. Yay. I guess I was going to...
I'm trying to think. I'm like, is it a happy podiversary? Because it's not really. It's not an anniversary. It's just, I don't know.
I think it's an anniversary because you and I started our first podcast together was January 1st, 2022.
Yeah.
And so in that 2 years, we have done 2 years and a couple of months, 3 months or whatever. We've done 100 podcasts.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Centennial sent to us.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't sound right either.
I don't.
I'm going to give it up.
Well, we'll ask our listeners if you guys have a better title for this. Let us know what it is. But anyway,
happy 100 episodes, Rebecca.
Same to you. And let me just say, because obviously I've been doing the podcast longer since it started. And when my past partner, Shauna, moved on to other things and I invited Tara to join, I think you immediately said yes, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a seamless transition. It went from Shauna and I working together to you and I working together. And it's just been the best. And you and I have done, I think, more podcasts together. We've really expanded in many ways. And so thank you for just being the best co-host ever that I could imagine. So yay.
Thank you. And likewise, it's funny as I was going back through prepping for this episode, because we have like a couple little special things planned for it. I kind of forgot that it's been like in my head, it seems like it's been a year. I thought, okay, I've been with it a year. And then I looked and I'm like, it's 2 years. It's over 2 years. It flew by. It was super fun. And I couldn't imagine not having the podcast as a part of my like weekly life now. It's kind of, it's ingrained.
Yeah, I'm glad. And I hope that you and I continue to do this for many, many, many years because I think it's a lot of fun. So
me too.
Awesome. So let me first ask you, what have you been up to?
Well, I am on like an Easter break from work. So I work in the chocolate factory. No, chocolate industry. No, I don't work in a chocolate factory. That would be both good and bad. I don't know. But I work in the chocolate industry. That's even not the right word. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But anyways, moving up to Easter is a very, very busy time for me at work, and kind of like a almost a thank you. Let's just call it a thank you. The company gives us the week after Easter off, and I am doing nothing but enjoying not having to work. So I am still doing stuff, but I'm doing my regularly day stuff without having to rush off to work, rush home, cook supper, get ready for the next day. I'm just living a life without work this week, and it's pretty awesome.
And still, but having that relaxing time and also reading time, I assume.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm squeezing in so much reading whenever I can.
So what are you currently reading?
Okay. I don't know what's gone on with me. I have like 6 books, I think, on the go at the moment. I know but now they're like, one's a book that I read in the car if I have a few minutes while I'm working. One's like 2 are short stories that I'm kind of working my way through. Another one's poetry. I got a nonfiction, a fiction, but I will bring my fiction book. Oh, except, wait a minute. Do you want to tell us what you've been up to lately?
I'll let you do this first, and then I'll jump in and say mine. But I just really wanted to know right away what you were reading.
Okay. I'm reading something completely different from what I've been reading the last few weeks. I am reading Miss Austen Investigates by Jessica Bull, a Miss Austen mystery. So it's a cozy mystery in which our main character is Jane Austen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've never even heard. Has it been out for a while? I've never heard of it.
No, it just came out, like, I would say within the last month or so.
Oh.
And I think I'd seen it somewhere on Instagram. I couldn't even tell you where, but I'm like, I love Jane Austen. I like a cozy mystery. So as soon as I saw this, I went on months ago when I heard the book was coming out, and I put a hold at the library. Placed a library hold on it. So then, which I love doing for books that haven't yet been released, because then when it shows up, it's like fun. It's a super fun book surprise. So this
Mhm.
showed up just before the Easter weekend, and that's what I've been reading. And it is super fun. It is like a Jane Austen book, except the language is Jane Austen esque, but accessible. Like you're not having to read these long sentences and wondering what I'm going. It's there, but she uses a lot of the same phrases to refer to places and clothing and stuff like this. And Jane is investigating a murder, trying to stop one of her brothers from being found guilty of said murder. And she gets drunk at one point, and I loved that scene. I love the idea of Jane Austen getting like a little tipsy and flirty with the men at the party, and it's a fun read. It's a romp. It's a romp.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, so what I've been up to, I am working with my new best friend, who is my dad's best friend, Dick. He is really a metal worker. Like he likes to work in metal, but he did say he would help me do some woodworking. So I have been making it's going to have 3 pots in it, but it's a planter. It's an herb planter. But what's hilarious about it, I told my mom, because I know Dick will never hear this podcast, but it was so funny because after I left, he started working on it some more with a belt sander and he made some notches in it.
Mhm.
So there are some errors to it that are hilarious because Dick isn't a woodworker. And I told him, and when he told me that, I go, I'm not either. So we're just like flying by the seat of our pants here. So it's going to be a funky little thing, but I'm going to love it.
Yep.
And it is equally mine and equally Dick's. So I just think it's just been so much. I've had the time of my life. And he gave me a drill press. I'm going to buy a radial saw because I want to do more woodworking. And I have projects already in mind. And I've just been having the time of my life. It's just been so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot wait to see the finished planter. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, because it's gonna be I'm started painting it, it's yellow, and then I wanna put green, like, plant stencils around the outside of it, so that'll be really cool. So, yes, I will definitely post it. I will be very proud of it and post it to my
Yeah.
Instagram as well. But the book I am currently reading is I Shall Not Hate:
Oh,
A Gaza Doctor's Journey, and this is actually published in 2010, but it's one of the books I borrowed from our friend Colleen when I visited you guys the last time. I think I took about 4 or 5 books from her because she loves to loan her books, which
yeah.
I give her credit because
Mhm.
I'm stingy and I don't really loan my books,
Yeah,
but
me too.
she does. And I wanted to read this, and I did. He is very active, obviously, right now in what's going on in Palestine and stuff, but I am looking forward to reading this.
Nice.
That's what I'm currently reading.
Excellent.
Okay, do you wanna say what we're doing today for our celebration?
Yeah, so like I said, we have 2 special things planned. One of them, I don't know which we're doing first because we didn't discuss it, but one of them will be we are each going to share 10 facts about ourselves. I'll put fun in like brackets, 10 fun, maybe facts
Mhm.
about ourselves. And then we're each going to share our top 3 favorite moments or highlights of the past 100 episodes.
Yes. I say let's start with the facts. I think the facts
Yeah,
will be fun.
yeah, I think so too.
So I'm gonna let you start.
Okay, this was weird to do because so there's no order to my facts code, so they're not chronological. I just kind of sat down and whatever popped into my head, I wrote down. So some of them might be kind of like, yeah, yeah, boring. Some might be like, oh, geez. I don't know. I started writing stuff down because when you had to think about facts about yourself, it's really weird to think of stuff that's not just like, I live in Burlington. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
you and I had discussed this and we wanted to come up with something different rather than just basic facts. And also, we wanted facts that weren't really book related. Because if you've been listening, you all have a pretty good idea of what we like to read, what we have read, and we are going to continue to share that stuff with you anyways. So we wanted to focus on our non book related life.
Yes.
Although having said that, my first one is kind of book related. I just
I love it.
okay. Mine is as a young girl, I honestly believed I was the reincarnation of Anna Green Gables. I have no idea why. But I really
Wow.
did. I think it was because so I was raised by a single parent, so my mom and my grandmother actually. So not really a single parent, but kind of a single parent family. So I was like, well, that's kind of, but it isn't. It's kind of like Anne being orphaned. I loved PEI. She was in PEI. I wanted red hair. She had red. So
Yeah.
really, there was no reason. But in my head, for a brief period of time, I was like, I think I am Anne reincarnated. Like,
Wow. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. It's weird. I don't know why, but
I love that. Yeah. So is that why you think in part you have such I mean, you kinda collect Anne of Green Gables things, and is that kinda why you think it just kinda grew?
I think so. I think it's more that, like, if I looked at it superficially, there's nothing really in common with between myself and Anne. But I think it's more on a level that there was something about Anne, even like personality wise, I'm not like Anne because she is such a spitfire and so not like me really. But I think as a young girl, I wanted to be like Anne. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to be the girl who's going to smack a piece of chalkboard over another kid's head because she's annoyed, or that's going to, tell an older person off because they've insulted you and you're not and you're just supposed to stand there and take it. I want
Yeah.
it to be Anne.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
That I love that. So, well, my first one is I wanna just start out by saying I started my life of crime as a young child. I stole something from a store once, and I was with a friend who was about 3 or 4 years older than I was, and at the time, I feel like I might have been 11, and it was you used to be able to put these shoe decorations, you could, like, put them on the front of your shoes, it's like I think it was, like it wasn't an antique store, but I don't know why they had it there, but anyway, long story short, she dared me to take it, I took it, and then she basically worked me over till I gave it to her. So I think she just wanted me to steal it for her. And she actually stuck it on an old rotary phone because it wasn't old at the time, that's what we had back then, rotary
Yeah.
phones. And she put it on the center dial of the rotary phone, and it was like a blue, like it looked like a diamond kinda faceted thing, and she just it had glue on the back or sticky on the back of it, and she just stuck it on her rotary dial. And then so I stole it for her, but that was the beginning of my life of crime.
You were her minion. She
I
made you a
was.
minion.
I was her bitch. Basically.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, okay, oddly enough, my next one is about my life of crime as well, which
I
is
knew it. I knew we had a hidden side
yep,
to ourselves,
yep,
yeah.
yep. Now mine started later. Mine was in university, so I was maybe like
Whoa.
20. Actually, I think it was my first year university, so maybe 19.
Wow.
19. I stole a hubcap from a garage one night. So I was drunk in my defense.
Yeah, in my defense.
I don't know. Is that a defense? I
Not
don't
really.
know. But where the small town where I went to school, the tavern where we drank was maybe a 10-minute walk home back to the residence. And we would pass by this old garage, which I believe still stands there because we were there a few years ago. And one night we were passing by on our way home and they had like, because it's a small town, it was small town New Brunswick, and they had a hubcap was just sitting outside against, and I just stole it and I brought it home and I left it as a decoration in my room all year. Such a weird thing to do, right? I don't know what happened to that hubcap because I don't think my stepfather's a police officer. I do not think I brought it home with me that summer. So maybe I returned it in May before going home. I have no idea. But that was the beginning and I think the end of my crime life.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that you because you were an adult and you stole something.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
yeah.
And you
But
weren't
drunk, but
apparent
drunk.
yeah, but apparently you weren't influenced by anyone to take it, but you took it, so I love that.
Yes. I probably would have been with someone, so maybe I was doing it to show off,
Yeah.
like, in front of a friend to be like, "I'm so badass."
I love it. Oh my god. Okay. My next one is I bartended in Flint, Michigan, and then I moved to Los Angeles followed a boyfriend out there, moved to Los Angeles, and I met and I was bartending out there, and I met a lot of B celebrities. So if you ever want to know who I met, I can give you a whole string of celebrities that I met, but unless you're kind of around my age, you probably wouldn't know who these people are. A lot of actors and singers and stuff like that. But the one that was the highlight of my life, my first crush on TV was Johnny Quest, who was an animated character, but he was my first crush. I'm just, I mean, really, I think it's like you thinking you were Anna Green Gables.
Yep.
I thought Johnny Quest was real and I had a crush on him, but my first live human crush was Will Robinson from Lost in Space, and he came into my bar one night and I met him, and I was beside myself because I had a crush on him when he was a kid, when we were little kids. He was gorgeous. When he came into my bar, I was just like, "Oh my god, like he's gorgeous." And I even looked him up recently and he's still fine looking for his age.
I'm
So
doing it right now.
it's Bill, and it's Mumy, Mummy or Mummy, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. Bill, Mumy, and he's a redhead, and I married a redhead, so, whatever,
Really?
but oh, no, my god, I never thought about that. My
That's what I'm
ex-husband was a
saying. That's
redhead.
something I did not know either.
Oh, I loved Will Robinson. Anyway, it was the highlight of my life, and, of all the celebrities I met, that was the one that was my favorite because I was just, and I didn't tell him I had a crush on him or anything because I didn't wanna embarrass myself, but I told every living human being after that, that I met my first crush, my first TV crush.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think my first celebrity crush was William Shatner as Captain Kirk.
Really?
Yep. And Bobby Vinton. Do you remember
Yeah, he's saying, like,
Roses Are Red? Yeah.
yeah. I do remember him.
Yep. I was raised by my grandmother, remember? Like, my mother and my grandmother, so I watched, like so, yeah, Bobby Vinton and
Yeah.
Captain Kirk.
Oh my god, I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one, oh, I kind of said it, but it's kind of boring, but it's what came in my head, and it was that I was born in Labrador City, Labrador, but raised in Newfoundland on the West Coast by my mother and my grandmother, and I wouldn't change that.
Yeah, you had told me that because I think I finally asked because I didn't know exactly where you were born or raised, and I love that story. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm kinda jealous that you were born and raised in places that I hope someday I get to see, but I don't know.
yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. Boring, straightforward, but, that's what I wrote. Okay, you.
Okay, now this is my crime
Oh,
story, and it's actually a really great story, but takes forever to tell, so I'm gonna try to just tell the highlights of it. But so I was working in a restaurant, and my coworkers and I and one of my friends decided after our shift, which would have been like 11 o'clock or something, we were just gonna drive to Vegas from Los Angeles. And we were just gonna go overnight, but my boyfriend was in Vegas at the time, so that's why I wanted to go, and they all wanted to gamble and stuff. So the guy that went with us or was driving, he had, like, an old classic car, and we didn't know him. He had just started working there for, like, a couple weeks, and he said, "Oh, I'll drive." We're like, "Okay." So we drive to Vegas, we have fun, and we had to work the next evening, so we're talking about less than 24 hours that we're gonna actually be in Vegas. So we're driving back, we stop to get gas, we all hand him cash for the gas. We get back in the car, and we're driving, and we've been driving for, like, at least a half an hour, and all of a sudden, 3 cop cars are following us, but they're not, like, making a move to us, they're just following us, and we're like,
mhm.
"This is weird." They pull us over, they make us get out of the car, sit in the dirt on the side of the freeway in probably, like, 100-degree temperatures, and the sun is beating down on us. And we're like, "We don't know what the hell we did." And turns out the guy did not pay for the gas. Like, he took the money from us,
Oh,
but he didn't pay for the gas. So, they told us, "You have a certain period of time to get back to the gas station." So, it was at least a half an hour. "You have to get back to the gas station, pay, and if you do not pay in time, we will come and arrest you." Okay, that's fine. So, we're like, "Jesus Christ!" Oh, sorry. We're like, "Oh my god, we gotta go all the way back. We still have to be to work and everything." But here's the part that just blew our minds, my friend Ron and I. We weren't into drugs and all that stuff. Turns out my friends had a whole bunch of pot and they stashed it underneath the back seat of the car. And that was in the days you could get arrested for
Yeah.
possession, right? And they had a lot because there were 4 of them because there were 6 of us in the car. And thank God, can you imagine? Like, I would have we would have been arrested. And Ron and I were just like, "What the hell?" We didn't know.
Yeah.
So, thank God they didn't I don't know why they didn't search the car. It's just so bizarre because we did look suspicious. There were 6 of us and we didn't pay for the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they
You would have had a record.
I would have.
Yeah.
You're right, and I would have not been able to work with children. You're right.
Oh,
Think about it, really.
yeah.
I think probably I couldn't have been a children's librarian maybe, I don't
No,
know.
I do not have another crime story.
Okay.
Mine is a silly one. So I am currently collecting. So we have Kinder for our American listeners, the Kinder Surprise eggs, and the current a new series that's out are the NBA mascots. Right. So each little
Oh,
Kinder egg has a little NBA mascot in it, and there's a series of 10. And I am currently collecting them. And I have 9 of the 10.
ooh.
I know I am so very close. But I've had well, not I haven't eaten all of the eggs. As a family, we have been eating these eggs. My husband thinks it's ridiculous because he's like, "These are eggs that you're taking away from children." And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "There are so many Kinder eggs. Children are not going without Kinder eggs because I'm collecting these little NBA things." But that is my current little obsession, are these little NBA Kinder mascots. And
So
I'm
which one are you still needing to pick up?
the Atlanta Hawks. That's it. I have multiple Boston Celtics mascots, like 5 or 6 of the Sixers mascot, both of which are teams that I really dislike. I dislike both teams.
Okay.
And those seem to be the ones that I'm getting multiple of, but
Yeah.
one more. I got one more.
So, my next one is just the thing I'm most proud of about my life, and I wanted to share this, which is I when I moved to Los Angeles, I think I was 24. So, from 18 to 28, I had a lot of fun. I then realized I could not keep bartending because I was hating it and hating people
Mm,
because it was just ugh. Anyway, I put myself through school. So I did 2 years at a community college in Sacramento, California. I then got my graduate or my bachelor's degree in geography from Berkeley, UC Berkeley, which I loved. Being in the Bay Area, I absolutely loved it. And then I was broke by that point, and I came back to Michigan and got my master's degree in library and information science at Wayne State University in Detroit. And I was the first person to graduate from college in my family. And I paid for it all myself and worked hard and did all that. And that's just the thing I'm just really proud of.
yeah. That is a huge thing to be proud of. You should be. I'm glad you're proud of it.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
lot of work. It
yeah,
was a lot of work, but I did it in 7 years. And so I because I knew I don't have a lot of time to keep screwing around. So I had to be really focused and I did. So
yeah.
yeah,
Good for you.
thank you.
And with no crime.
No, I don't think so. I had to think
I'm like,
about it.
"Pause." I'm like, "Oh, we having a technical difficulty? What's with
I
that?"
was I was looking at my list to see, did I do anything during those years? No, I don't I think I did it with no crimes.
Straight and narrow. Okay, mine next one is pretty simple in that my favorite pet animal is cats. I love cat. I love wild cats. I love domestic cats. My favorite Christmas gift was a cat that was given to me by my grandmother when I was pretty young. She did not tell my mother at the time she was doing it. Christmas morning, we opened our gifts. We thought we were at the end of it. She then brought out this surprise box that was moving when
Oh.
she gave it to me. And I popped off the lid, and there was this little fluffy white kitten. And there began my obsession with kittens and cats. I've since owned I've 7 total because I went through a period. I have not had one my entire life, but since university, I have since late university of all, and so I've had 7, and I couldn't imagine never or ever not having a cat now. I love them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're amazing.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I'm gonna jump up one of mine then and talk about this one next
Okay.
because it's kinda similar to yours. I'm actually not a cat person, but years ago, a cat adopted me. He came through my back dog door, and my beautiful Adina and I were sitting there, and all of a sudden I heard this meow, and I turned around, and he was in my house. and I couldn't get rid of him. And so I named him Dusty. Long story short, he did have a family that he left, and they eventually found me and I found them. But they said, you can keep him. So I'm like, okay. But here's the thing I wanted to say about Dusty, having never had a cat. He was gray, so I named him Dusty because when I met him, he was very dusty and dirty. But then his middle name was Dexter
Mm,
because he was a prolific hunter. And he, every day pretty much, he brought into my house, because he was an indoor outdoor cat, he brought in either dead, half dead, or alive birds, lizards, snakes, and rats.
mm,
And eventually, when he killed 2 hummingbirds back to back,
wow.
he became an indoor cat.
Yeah.
And I loved him. He was amazing. He used to do this thing. I have a video of it. So cute. He would sit on his back. He would sort of sit on his back legs and stand up. And then he would do this thing, like he would do this praying hands thing where he kind of like, anyway, I used to say it was his Zen prayer that he was either praying to be able to go out and kill a lot of things,
Hmm.
or he was just praying for absolution because he was going to go out and kill a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he learned it, but Dusty Dexter was a prolific killing machine.
Don't they say that cats do that? They're gifts. He's bringing you gifts, like they're gifts for his owner.
That's what they say, but I kept saying to him, "Dude, stop doing this."
Okay, my next one. I'm returning to my childhood. When I was a child, I would pretend to be a librarian. So I would make like I
Oh.
know on my picture books, I would put like the little so like obviously we don't get them anymore, but the little cards that you would get on the
Mhm.
cover of the book. So I would make those, put the little envelope on the cover and put the card inside and you could stamp it. I didn't have a stamp, so I would write the date and I would play it with my I was an only child as well. So this verges on a little bit sad really. I would play it with my my stuffed toys because we
Oh.
lived kind of far away from I didn't have any friends in my again, that sounds really sad, but I went to another neighborhood for my schooling, so I didn't
Mhm.
have any close friends in the neighborhood. They were all older people really, and that they were my friends, but no one that
Yeah.
was gonna play toys with me. So all my stuffed toys, I would set them out and they would borrow my books and I would write their name and put the date on the card and that was the best.
You know what's not sad about that is it just showed how much imagination you had, because I think children who can create whole worlds when they're, by themselves, I just think that shows such a creative mind and an active mind. So I think that's actually pretty amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I think in your next life, you're coming back as librarian, don't you think?
I think so too. It's my I've made a lot of weird decisions in my life, but that's the one regret. Like I don't
Mhm.
regret anything except I wish I'd done my master's in library sciences when I finished my English degree, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And it's too late now. It's just not financially feasible. So it's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's the only regret I have.
Yeah. And that's why I say it'll happen in your next life, because I'd like to believe that we do have another life, because, yeah, I think we should get more than one shot at this. So that's
Yeah.
just my take. So I will tell you, perhaps you will be glad that you didn't become a librarian, because I worked in a library when I was at
Yeah.
community college, and I almost died under a cabinet of microfiche. And when I say that, I actually mean it, because I guess I think I was shifting microfiche, and that was those little plastic rectangles of,
Mhm.
information, but they were, when you put them all together in cabinets and multiple cabinets, and it was quite tall, and they were wide drawers with multiple whatever. And I think I must have been shifting fiche or something. All of a sudden, they did not anchor those cabinets to the
Mm.
wall, which is shocking to me in an
Yeah.
academic setting, right? But anyway, I opened one too many drawers, and then they all just came
Mm.
crashing at me. And I was kind of in a corner the way it was situated. And I just remember thinking, I have no self-preservation sense of self-preservation, because I was just like thinking in a split second, like, I can't stop what's about to happen. And I just gave up. Like my
Oh,
arms just kind of went like, it's inevitable. And I must have screamed or something, because then all of a sudden my boss came running in, and she was this tiny little woman, but she ended up, both of us like pushed it up back against the wall and got all the doors shut except one, which ended up getting bent under the weight of all of it.
yeah.
But I had scratched my arms and stuff, and she was freaking out, and I was actually more embarrassed thinking like I did something really bad because I let it get away from me, but really, looking back now, I think that was the responsibility of the college because that should have been
Mhm.
anchored, my god,
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, but that's what scared me was I thought, "Wow, in the event of my death, I will just give in." Like,
Yeah.
I won't even try to fight for my life. I'll just be like, "Oh, it's inevitable." Yeah, it was weird. No, I know, it was
Yeah,
weird.
that is crazy because those things cabinets are heavy. Well, I'm gonna change my next one because you've reminded me of your near-death experience, reminded me of a near-death experience that I had as
Ooh.
a little girl. So it was, we were visiting my aunt, and I had one of those, hard candies, so, like, they're circular, like just a traditional hard candy, and it got stuck, and
Oh my
I was
god.
choking like I couldn't breathe, and I remember now it didn't take as long as I remember, but, when you think back on stuff, it's all slow motion. So fortunately, I was around my aunt and my mom, but
Yeah.
no one knew what to do. So I remember now, and my mom listens to this. So, mom, if I am remembering this incorrectly, please let me know. But I feel like they carried me to another household that was just down the road to find someone to help because they couldn't like
Oh my
dislodge the
god.
candy. So
Yeah.
weird, eh? So, and I just have this like, just this weird memory of just being carried to another house and my God, what if I've dreamt this, Rebecca? I don't know. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
ask my mom, but because it just seems so weird for that length of time to be carried. Now it was like, like next door, like two houses down kind of thing, but still. So that's like my near-death experience or a dream of a near-death experience that I've had. But
Ooh, I can't wait to hear what it is, but I
yes, I'm
mean,
gonna find
I'm
out.
pretty sure I'm sure that that's a real memory, you know
I
what I
think
mean?
so
That
too.
because it's not something I think as a kid you would think about.
No, and I was very young when it happened too, and because for them to be able to, like, lift me up kind of thing, so
Yeah.
and I remember vivid dreams that I had from my childhood, but I remember those as a dream, like, I was like, that terrified me, but I knew it was a dream, but this one
Yeah.
just has, like, a different feel to it, so that was my near-death
Oh,
experience.
man. Okay, I'll save my weirdest one last.
Okay.
Okay, so my next one, which I think is weird, is funny, but I raised 3 puppies for canine
Mhm,
companions, and everybody kinda knows that in the sense that I had in December, I had a puppy I was gonna raise, my 4th puppy, and things did not go well, and I had to return the puppy. Not because I mean, it was because of, like, life situation, not because
mhm,
anything was wrong with me or the puppy. It was a sad thing for me. But the other thing I wanted to add to it is I have loved to adopt senior dogs. And I've had a number of senior dogs that I adopted and that I had maybe like a year and a half or 2 years. That it's painful to have a senior dog because you in the sense that you won't have them very long, but
mhm,
I love pampering and babying and loving old dogs at end of life because you just know you can tell how much they appreciate this great comfortable life and I've adopted them from shelters and from people who couldn't care for their dogs and they weren't living their best life and so I have been without a dog now for about a year and a half I think and I'm really torn. I want to adopt an older dog again, but I also kinda wanna travel a little bit, so I'm kinda
mhm.
maybe holding off a little bit, but I know there's an older dog in my life, in my future.
Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, I'm going back to a fear I have. So I have a fear, and it's not an uncommon one, I do not believe, of anyone or anything in which the face is covered. So, like mascots, especially mascots, like from a distance, fine. Like watching them on TV and stuff,
Yeah.
fine. But to have one come up close to me, mm-mm, no. I do not like if I cannot see someone's face, I do not like it. And I do think this goes back to my childhood. So in Newfoundland, we have a tradition of mummerers, but it's
Mhm.
essentially at Christmas time, people would dress up and you would purposely disguise yourself. So, like, men would wear women's clothing, women would wear men's clothing. You would cover your face either with a pillowcase, and there's going further back, there's like a deeper tradition to it of I can't remember the name of it, but there would be one person in the group who would have like a horse's head
Oh
on
my
to
gosh.
disguise themselves. So they would be fully disguised, like everything body part would be covered. And they would travel in groups and go from home to home. And you had to let them in and you had to give them alcohol and food until you guessed who they were. And
Oh
then they
my
would move to
god.
the next house. Like it's a thing. It's now back to they, but I think it's a little more tame than it used to be. But these people terrified me because they've had a few drinks before they even get to your home. You have to entertain them, but it gets a little rowdy and it terrified me not knowing who these people were with their faces covered. I did not like it. I do
Wow.
not like it now. I do not like mascots. I feel oddly enough like my youngest child, and I did not pass this on to him because I really had no reason to. They were just, childhood things you go. But I think when Quinn was not very old and we went to a parade here in town, and the Dalmatian, who's the mascot for our fire department, I can't remember his name, but he was like, some guy dressed up as a Dalmatian, cute little Dalmatian with the fire coat on and stuff like this, was on the other side of the street, and we're like, oh, look over there. My oldest was all excited to see this mascot, and the mascot saw the two because he was going around to children, and he saw the two of our children and started to cross the street towards us, and Quinn saw him and just started freaking out,
Wow.
losing it, like, no. And the mascot was like, mm-mm, and just did like a full 180 and went the other direction because he was like, I'm not going near that kid. So I'm like, oh my God, I've passed it on through the bloodline
Yep.
to him. But yeah, so I don't like Halloween either. That could be part of it too.
I was going to say that perhaps it was because you read a lot of horror books and you watch a lot of horror movies. But then my question now instead is this only a tradition or was it only in Newfoundland or was this like in Canada or
No,
what?
it's a Newfoundland tradition.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. That would have scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I'm glad to know this about you because my dream sort of volunteer job has always been to be a mascot.
Really?
I'm not kidding you. I asked my sister, she would tell
Yeah.
you, but I will know never to do that in front of
No.
you.
Like I said, like I'm collecting the NBA mascots. I love watching mascots on TV, like during sporting
Yep.
events and stuff like this. But we've been in different situations, like parades or like, wherever you have sometimes you see and people will start to come and I can't even make eye contact. Like I purposely avoid them because I do not want them coming anywhere near me. And my husband's like, it's just a person in a suit. And I'm like,
Wow.
no,
No, not with your background childhood. Are you
yeah,
kidding me?
I'm
I
like,
would I
I
would I would feel the
no.
same way. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is my number 9 because I'm saving my last one for the last one. Pre-COVID, I was regularly going to the gym and working out with a personal trainer, and my personal record for a deadlift is 220 pounds. And
Mm,
I did this in I think I was maybe like 57 years old. And remember when I hit that 220, I said, is that pretty good for my age? And he said, look around you. How many women your age do you see deadlifting? And I was like, good point. And
yeah,
he actually wanted me to compete, but I thought, are you kidding me? Like, I could never compete deadlift in a crowd of people, like people watching me. I could do it with him, but I could never have done it with other people. But I love the idea that he thought I could become competitive at my
yeah,
age. But yeah, no, that was never going to happen. So, but yeah, I was really proud of that because, like, damn, because
yeah,
sometimes I see young girls and they'll post their PR, their personal record, and I actually still lifted more than them, and I
yeah.
just go, dang, and I was like in my
I
50s.
know. That's quite an accomplishment. Very cool. I'm going to counter that with a almost not accomplishment in that I almost failed Shakespeare class in university. I just barely scraped by. I don't think the professor, he did not like me. I don't blame him. I did terribly in his class. I did not enjoy it. I didn't put any time into it. I I don't think he wanted to pass me, but maybe he also didn't want me back. I don't know. So
Yeah, but I will say in your defense, I think if it's just a Shakespeare class, that had to be freaking hard.
yeah, I did not. And it
Yeah.
was like this old guy teaching it. I can see him now with his suit, his jacket, his old tweed jacket, and the bow tie or tie, and white frizzled curly hair.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking taking that, but not a good choice.
The only Shakespeare I ever had, formally was in high school, and we read, I don't know, like 3 or 4 plays or whatever, but and we played the sound recording with it, so I just remember learning it that way, and that was really
Mm,
helpful, but if I had ever had to take a class, I'm pretty sure I probably wouldn't have done very well,
no,
'cause that stuff is hard.
it's hard.
So
No,
'cause it's not natural language, so I don't even know
no.
how you remember things, you know? Anyway. Okay, my last one is weird and embarrassing kind of, but
Mm,
I am a K-pop fan, and I was a K-pop fan before it became popular to be one, and I am not, just for the record, I like to state this, I am not a BTS fan at all. If anybody out there is a K-pop fan, they know what I'm talking about. So, I went to a concert, well, I went to, like I've been to, like, 25 concerts or something like that or whatever, but I had gone to I think it was Atlanta, I wanted to see Monsta X, one of my favorite groups, and one of the things you get to do at a K-pop concert, you can get a ticket that allows you to do, like, a high five with the members, and you get to meet
mm,
them and stuff.
cool.
And then they take a group picture. It's kind of fun. And yes, I'm always the oldest freaking person there, and that's okay because the greatest thing about K-pop fans, if you're an older person and you like it, the young people embrace you. If you're a K-pop fan, they love you. They do not care what your age is. So I love that.
That's
But
cool.
there were these 2 girls that were young women that were standing there. Anyway, well, we were getting our picture taken, and one of them started yelling at me. And I was just like, "What? I don't understand why you're yelling at me." And I was like blocking her view or something for the photo. I don't know what it was. Long story short, life goes on. They take the picture, whatever. It's all good. And then I don't know, like 6 months later, I was talking to just somebody I met online about K-pop, and I told her this story that had happened. I said, "Yeah, these 2 girls, they were like yelling at me and stuff." And she's like, "Oh my God, they did a whole video about you." I was like,
Oh no.
"What?" So I go, she tells me who it is. I don't remember who it was. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't care. But I went and I watched the video, and they did this whole YouTube video about what a bitch I was and how horrible I was, and they were gonna fight me and all this other stuff. And there was part of me that wanted to say, "I was in my 50s. Why would you think you're gonna beat up a 50-year-old woman and that gives you some sort of street cred? I'm like 50 something years old." Anyway, it was hilarious. But here's the thing I got out of it, which is it was so shocking to me to hear them making up a story because again, I
Mhm.
did nothing and I wasn't even
Yeah.
in their way. And if you look at the photo, I wasn't anywhere near them. But I think I don't know what they were trying to do. But anyway, but I thought if I had been a young person seeing that go viral and everything, I would have been so upset. Well, I was upset at
Yeah.
first, and then I went, "Oh, for God's sakes, they're in their 20s, you're in your 50s, grow up." And I just let it go.
Yeah.
But I thought if I were a young person and people were bashing me and saying nasty things about me online, I could see
Yeah.
how you would feel really bad. And that's why this whole thing about social media and how the mental health of our young people, it's just really, it's just awful. And I
Mhm.
thought, I totally get that because even something as silly as this thing that happened with me, I was starting to get upset and I should know better. I'm too old to get upset about it. And so, yeah, it was just sort of shocking. But one last thing I will say about this. So, one of the guys in the group, when he heard her yelling at me, he actually sort of looked at me and kind of made a face like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel bad
Yeah.
for you." And then when we had to walk by and like do our little hand, high five thing, he actually looked at me and said he said something, I don't remember what it was. He said something to me, and then he bowed because one of the
Mhm.
things in Korean culture is if somebody's older, you bow to them, and I just thought I knew he sort of validated, like, those girls were sort of nasty, and he was
Yeah.
very kind to me, and, like, I never forgot that, and I thought that was just a really lovely moment in that whole weird scenario. And
Yeah.
I realize if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, like this is like junior high, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Those are my 10
Sure.
weird facts about myself.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have one more. It's not nearly, although I kind of like ending with yours. Yours was like a nice moment to end with, and I should have let it go. Okay. I once worked in university. I considered going into vet school, and I once worked and lived in a vet clinic for 4 months. So I stayed overnight, 5 to 6 days a week, and I took care of the animals that were boarded there. It was pretty it was difficult, but it was hard work,
Yeah.
but it was pretty awesome. I even spent a Christmas day there, and I have visions of walking some of the dogs that were boarding there on Christmas Day. So it was a pretty awesome Christmas Day, even though I was like essentially by myself. I think Mike came to visit me because it was about 2 hours away from where we lived at the time. But I never ended up going into vet college, but it was an experience that I was always glad I did because I proved to myself that I could do things that I didn't think I could do. And it was also, I think, it proved that it's a heartbreaking profession to get into.
I think that is the best one to end on because I have so much respect for you that you could do that because I could never do anything because that's I always said my biggest sort of fear in life is animals suffering. And then when they're in a vet clinic or they're over
Mhm.
the night or whatever, and you know that, oh my God, man, that is so amazing that you did that because that's
Yeah,
hard.
it's a good one. It was hard, but I have lots of memories that even the animals that passed are like, I have some good memories of some good animals from
Oh,
that.
I
Yeah.
love that. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
those are our 10 facts about ourselves. So hopefully you enjoyed those stories. They're mostly not book related. And so and all things you've never heard us probably really talk about. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
I enjoyed that. Thank you for
Yeah, I did
sharing all
too.
those.
Okay. Now our top three podcast moments or podcasts that we've done together.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you start.
Okay. My first one is a bit of a cheat. So,
Okay.
not a big surprise. I had to cheat at least once. And I'm going to put in under the whole umbrella the Canada Reads experience, like everything that has come out of the Canada Reads experience. So, the authors, interviewing the authors, some of the defendants. I'm thinking of like Mark Tewksbury was a highlight.
Hmm.
Just our friends that we talked to, like the whole community that has grown from Canada Reads, and my experience of Canada Reads is just like deepened. So, and it's because of the podcast.
Yeah. And actually, two of mine are Canada Reads related. So I will say that is a great way to sum it up because that's why Sean and I originally started the podcast. We just loved Canada Reads so much and all the opportunity to interview the defenders and the art and the authors and the host, Ali Hassan.
Mhm.
Yeah, that has just been the best.
Yeah,
And you and I have even expanded that even more over the last 2 years, so it's just been, yeah, absolutely brilliant. So,
yeah,
I will just say that one of mine was and I kind of put Mark Tewksbury in the 2 that we interviewed him twice, but I want you to go back for our listeners, if you have not listened to, our podcast with Mark on the April 30th edition, at the very beginning, he says something that just made our day, and I don't wanna say what it is, but and I know if Tara doesn't remember it, I'll say it to you offline, but
okay,
go back and because I re-listened to it again today, but, we interviewed him first March 14th, 2022, and then April 30th as kind of a follow-up to after Canada Reads, and that again was April 30th, 2022, and, that was a highlight. What he said to us was a highlight to me in the past 2 years. I love that, so
yeah.
okay, go ahead. You're
I love talking to him. It just brought a smile when I was going through it. I was just like, oh, yeah, he was awesome.
He had a sense of humor, he was energetic and
Yeah,
fun and candid and just amazing.
yeah. It was
I
just a
love
fun
him.
talk. Okay, my second one is talking to my oldest child, Keegan, when it came onto the podcast as a guest, as part of our reader repartee. I really loved that because I felt Keegan is a very special person. And Keegan really shone in this moment when the focus was on Keegan and
Mhm.
could just talk. And I just loved sharing the podcast with Keegan, but just letting Keegan be Keegan and
Mhm.
just shining. I loved that.
I love that one too because when Keegan came on, I didn't expect to have such a interesting discussion that kind of opened my worldview a little bit too,
Mhm.
when Keegan was talking about different things, and I love that. So, yes, that was one of my
Yeah.
favorites as too, yeah. Okay, my second one, and again, it's just sort of Canada Reads related, it's just Ali Hassan, and here's the thing
Mhm.
about Ali. I don't remember what year it was, but we had interviewed oh, no, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of the defenders, Akil Augustine, I think is who it was, yeah, and we had interviewed him before Canada Reads began, but then during the opening part of the show, when they before they go live,
Yeah. Yeah.
he actually mentioned our podcast, and then Allie said, "Oh, yeah, the women from Michigan," because this was when Sean and I were doing it, and so we actually got a shout out on that episode of Canada Reads itself. We were and everybody was DMing us, and Sean and I missed the first few minutes of it, and then we watched it back, and we were like, "Oh my god, they mentioned us." But from that moment forward, Ali Hassan has just been the kindest, most generous person with his time, and I even said to him one time, "You know, we've interviewed you so many times, and if you feel like you've said as much as you want to say or whatever,
Yeah.
you won't hurt my feelings if you just say, 'Hey, no.'" And he said, "Are you kidding? I love talking with you guys." So he always says yes. And sometimes, this last time we chatted with him after Canada Reads, we had to sort of keep changing the date because he is the busiest man I
Mhm.
know in celebrity dumb. He is just so busy. So we had to keep rescheduling, but he continues to work with us to carve out that time to chat with us. And
Yeah.
I just think what a highlight. And when you and I get to chat with him, I just feel like it's a conversation among three friends. That's how
Yeah.
I feel.
I know. He does deserve his own moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, he really does, and there's something about his voice and how polished he is and how what a great
Mhm.
public speaker he is, and plus how funny he is, and I just think he is a wonderful human being.
Yeah. He really is. Good one. Okay, my third one has not yet aired. But
Oh,
I'm bringing it because I did this interview yesterday, so the day before we're recording today, but we're not airing it. Like it's not going to upload until later from this date. But I was got the opportunity. See, even now I'm like all flummoxed just
I
thinking.
know.
I was like flummoxed last night too. So warning, it's not my best interview, but he is amazing. Anyways, I interviewed Vince Dietrich, author, but once drummer and manager of Spirit of the West, one of my like top two favorite bands in my life. And it was a moment that I got because of the podcast. Like it would not have happened otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
It happened because of the podcast. And it was delight to do it. I loved it.
And I just wanna say, because I'm the tech person, so I got to sit in and listen to the interview, and Tara did a super job, so don't let her kid you. I know she may feel like she didn't just because she was
Mhm.
so excited and nervous because she's meeting a real musical icon, and she's such a huge fan, but it was a wonderful interview. I loved it. I was really fascinated. It makes me wanna read the 3 books, so you guys
Mhm.
both did a super job in talking about it, and yeah, I thought you did a brilliant job,
Thank you.
and I was telling my mom last night when it was done, I said, Tara just interviewed one of her all-time favorite, bands of her life." And I said, "That would be like," because when I was younger, I really loved John Denver, and I
Mm.
told her, I said, "That would be like if John Denver had written a book and I was then in front of him, I could see him and we were talking." I said, "I don't think I could have kept it together as well as she did, because I gotta say, you may not think so, but you looked smooth
Oh,
as
did I?
glass. You
I
did."
did feel it because every now and then I would just forget. I'm like, and I'd be like, what am I supposed to say next? I don't know what to say 'cause I'm just listening. I'm not thinking. I'm like, what? But
No, that's why I say you were so smooth, and I thought, "Shit, I'd have been like falling over my words, and I would have been nervous and everything. And no, you did a super job. So you're going to be surprised if you go back and listen to it. You will be
Okay.
surprised at how good a job you did. So, and I'm not just saying that. So I
Mhm.
mean it. And then my last one is just because I love this person so much, and I don't mean in a creepy way. I love this person for the work that he does. Okay, I'll just say Adam Shoalts, because he's
Mhm.
going to write a book every 2 years, and he has already said he wants to come on the show every time he has a new book out.
Yeah.
And I love his work. I love who he is as a human being in terms of going out and doing all the journeys and adventures that he does, the exploration. And again, I can't even remember how many times we've interviewed him. I think I've actually only interviewed him twice, once with Shauna and then once with under Tara on the show. But I just know going forward that I'll get to continue to talk with him. And I
Yeah.
just, it's like, I get to have, it's like you with Vince. As a geography major and somebody who just loves all of that
Mhm.
stuff and everything that he does, it's like my way of just being a little bit inside his brain and getting to ask him the questions that are most pressing to me. And whether or not anyone else gets a lot out of it, I'm sure people do, because he is really so smart and funny, really funny. I just love just being kind of close to that exploration in a weird
Yeah.
way.
No, it's cool. That one doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah. Okay, so we have now finished our 100th podcast as co-hosts.
Yep.
We will look forward to being able to come back and do this again at 200.
Mhm.
And we hope that you enjoyed it. And I just want to say, obviously, we couldn't or wouldn't continue doing what we do probably if we didn't have such great listeners and friends, because you're all our bookish friends, and we so
Yeah.
appreciate that you listen and comment and like and share and all that stuff that you do
Yeah.
for us. It really makes us feel really good about what we do.
Yeah. Makes it more fun. Hey, and happy reading, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style, and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.